This show is produced by the Hartman Media Company. For more information and links to all our great podcasts, visit hartmanmedia.com.
Jason, aloha from the big island of Hawaii. Hey, it's Andrew Freitas from Vancouver, Washington. Yesterday, I met with a notary here on the island and signed for a cash-out refi for my very first property I bought through your network about 4 years and 11 months to the exact day. I cashed out refi. I got all my money back out of the property and put another $6,500 in my pocket. My liability is now zero in the property. I've got some extra cash in my pocket, and all while on vacation in Hawaii.
Welcome to the Creating Wealth Show with Jason Hartman. You're about to learn a new slant on investing, some exciting techniques, and fresh new approaches to the world's most historically proven asset class that will enable you to create more wealth and freedom than you ever thought possible. Jason is a genuine self-made multimillionaire who's actually been there and done it. He's a successful investor, lender, developer, and entrepreneur who's owned properties in 11 states, had hundreds of tenants, and been involved in thousands of real estate transactions. This program will help you follow in Jason's footsteps on the road to your financial independence day. You really can do it. And now, here's your host, Jason Hartman, with the complete solution for real estate investors.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode number 1840, and you know what that means? That means this is a 10th episode today where we will be talking about a topic of general interest, and that topic relates pretty well to the financial world today because we're talking about the investor mindset. What type of mindset do you need to be a successful investor? You know, at the end of the day, it all comes down to our own psychology. We are battling our own psychology. That can be our best friend or our worst enemy when we are investing. So we're going to talk about that with our guest today, the author of Investor Mindset. But first, before we do that, I just got back from Dallas, had a great time, did 2 speaking engagements there, one for a big 180-person mastermind group, and then another for Mark Moss's group, and that is the Market Disruptors group. Had about 500 people at that event. And wow, what an awesome group of people. I had so many great conversations. And also our trainer for our small wholesaling workshop in Jacksonville came out because he lives in Dallas. So we really spent a few days together and enrolled a few more people for our Jacksonville event. So that's going to be just super exciting. We're really looking forward to seeing you there for our Jacksonville mentoring event. If you can make it, I hope you can. It's 3 days where you'll spend with me, with our lead guy, Todd, who is arguably the best, longest running wholesaling trainer in the country. So we're going to learn how to wholesale properties and just do a lot of great stuff. Look at some great deals. I was talking to another wholesaler at one of the events I spoke at, and he said that the average wholesaling assignment fee is $25,000 nationwide for his group, and in some cities as high as $50,000 to $55,000. So I've wanted to sort of under promote this event, right? And say, hey, you can make $5,000, $10,000 on a deal, but you can really do a lot better than that. So be sure to join us for that. Go to jasonhartman.com/wholesale. It's scrolling at the bottom of the screen, that URL. But Elon Musk, well, obviously he's been in the news lately, but I want to talk to you about this story, which is fascinating. Now, as you know, one of my many, if I don't say so myself, brilliant strategies. Yeah, well, hey, I'm not saying that. You say that. You told me that. Is the Refi Till You Die strategy. Refi Till You Die. And Musk is out with a statement in Forbes saying, focus on the main mechanisms used to avoid taxes by pretending income doesn't exist. The article entitled, Don't Tax the Wealth of the Rich, Tax What They Borrow. Tax what they borrow. Well, Elon, now here's the thing, folks. I actually, from a philosophical and societal standpoint, I agree with Elon. I'm not saying specifically in terms of the mechanism, but look, the rich have all kinds of ways of getting around taxes. And look, it's not fair. But guess what? Life isn't fair. Imagine that. It's not fair at all. Lots of unfair things happen to me all the time. I'm sure they happen to you too all the time. Life isn't fair. No question about that. We all have grown up and we have realized that, right? Okay, fine. But you can agree philosophically with something, but then do that exact thing in your own life and take advantage of it. That does not make you a hypocrite, okay? It does not make you a hypocrite. Now, sometimes things are very hypocritical. So my Refi Till You Die strategy is exactly what Elon is attacking here. He's saying this is the problem. Instead of making a wealth tax, look at the rich use financing because there's no tax on borrowed money. You've heard me explain the Refi Till You Die strategy. It is a beautiful strategy. I use it. I've done it a zillion times. It's awesome, 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 awesome. Okay. But look, think about it. Is it really fair that that W-2 employee is working and paying a huge part of their wages in taxes when the rich can basically have no quote unquote income, right? I have very little income, but I have all kinds of assets with which I borrow money against, and I can use those to buy yachts, planes, second homes, all kinds of luxurious items, right? And so there's no tax on that. There's no tax on borrowed money. Right? So it is a great deal. Should you take advantage of my Refi Till You Die strategy? Of course you should. It's an awesome strategy. But when there's this debate about the tax code and how to, tax people in a fair way and so forth, look, it's not fair. I agree. It's an unfair advantage, but you're not going to change the tax code. I'm not going to change the tax code. So I'm going to take advantage of the laws as they are, and you should too. So if you don't know about my Refi Till You Die strategy, just go to jasonhartman.com and type Refi Till Ya, Y-A, Till You Die, right? That's my trademark term, Refi Till You Die. And so Elon was talking about that. But speaking of hypocrisy, and that's not really hypocritical because I actually agree with him philosophically. Maybe not exactly how you do it. I don't know. There's always a million details, right? But speaking of hypocrisy, I want to share one other thing with you. So on Friday night in Dallas, one of my friends took about 8 of us to the Coldplay concert. It was awesome. Oh my gosh, what a great concert. I love concerts. I've been to a couple hundred of them for sure. I absolutely love concerts. And I'd say I'm a bit of a concert critic. I've been to so many of them. And this concert was phenomenal. I mean, Coldplay just killed it. It was excellent concert. But what amazes me, well, a couple things amaze me about this that I want to share with you because they have to do with life and real estate and public policy and all of this kind of stuff. Number one, talk about hypocrisy. Coldplay, look, you're just part of the typical sort of Hollywood celebrity-ish type environment. I get it. You guys don't know any better. So I love how the owner of an airline likes to pretend he's an environmentalist. These musicians, they're, celebrities, they're all environmentalists. For probably 20 minutes before the concert started, we got to watch videos on the big screens about saving the environment. And then they came on and talked about how their concert is a net, like what I don't know exactly what they said, but the gist of it was they were a net zero carbon concert. Bullshit. I cannot imagine that's true. I cannot imagine that's true. Let's just look at it. So there was a lot of traffic to get to the arena where the concert was. A lot of gasoline-powered cars sitting there in idle mode as they waited in stop-and-go traffic, polluting. Now, could they have eliminated the traffic? Sure, they could have done lots of things. Hey, they could have had a smaller concert, right? But then that would mean less money, so they wouldn't want to do that. So they could have had a smaller concert, so there was easy parking, easy traffic. When you ordered a bottle of water for like $7, ridiculous bottle of water, right? They took the Aquafina the plastic bottle of water and plastic recycling is complete bullshit. It is a total scam. Recycling in general is pretty much a scam. There are parts of it that aren't, but mostly it's a scam. And they took these plastic bottles, single-serving plastic bottles of Aquafina water, I think it was. They poured them into aluminum cups with no lid, so that while you're walking through the arena, you're spilling everywhere, right? First waste of water. And then they made this big announcement that they put the aluminum cup on the screen and said, these aluminum cups are so environmentally friendly, yada, yada, yada. And 75% of all aluminum that's ever been created is still in use today. What about all the plastic bottles you just wasted, Coldplay? I mean, it's just unbelievable. They claimed that there were some part in the arena, I never saw them, these exercise bikes that you could literally get on a bike and generate power to power the concert. Yeah, right. They led us to believe that all of those amplifiers and all of these lights and this gorgeous light show was environmentally friendly. Not to mention the fireworks. There were lots of fireworks polluting the air, polluting the environment. I'm sure fireworks are not environmentally friendly at all. I mean, just, folks, the depth of the hypocrisy is insane. It's insane. They would have been much better off just letting everybody have their water in their plastic bottle because they wouldn't have spilled it, even if they required you to not have the cap on it, right? Because a lot of times they do that because, whatever, safety purposes. But the cup was totally, everybody was spilling their water everywhere, right? So it's just absurd. And then they claimed that they had a kinetic floor that generated power. Now, folks, unless you've been to one of my events where we've had a band, you may not know this about me, but your host absolutely loves to dance. I love dancing. I'm not professional or trained, but when I have a drink, I'm pretty good at it. I've got some rhythm. And Harry Dent was there with us, and he was tearing it up dancing. Harry Dent's been on the show before, and Robert Breedlove was with us. And, anyway, it was really fun. But they had these kinetic floors that captured energy from everybody dancing and thumping and jumping for the concert, supposedly. I don't know. I don't even believe it. I think that was probably all, there's probably 2 exercise bikes in the arena of tens of thousands of people, and they claimed they were being environmentally friendly, and then a little portion of kinetic floor somewhere that actually worked. It's just, folks, this stuff is just it's such a lie. It's unbelievable. It just is. I'm calling them out. Hey, listen, someone representative of Coldplay, I love your music. You're awesome. You guys your music is phenomenal. But this just shows to go, you folks, that the artist, the people who do the arts usually have no qualification to comment on political stuff, public policy, environment, et cetera, et cetera. It's just always hypocrisy, yeah. Anyway, that's enough of that. Okay, so Elon, that was really interesting. Good point. So construction costs experienced the largest spike since 1970. Now, last week I gave 2 big speeches at the Market Disruptors event, Mark Moss's event. I was on stage for 2 hours. I had one of the longest speaking slots, maybe the longest, of the entire conference. And we talked a lot about predictions in the future and, how we are heading into a recession. But does a recession mean lower real estate prices? Don't think that, folks. It does not necessarily mean that at all. Okay. There are many factors, many tailwinds still pushing rents and prices up. And look at this. If you're looking on the video, this chart shows you how in 1 year, the year-over-year increase in construction costs was 17.5%. Now, remember, whatever the hard construction costs are, the builder has to add a profit to that, right? So if their profit margin is, 5%, 10%, just add more to that, to the ultimate price of that final delivered home. Folks, we got another good year or two ahead of us. Now, granted, if the Fed raises the rates to 10, 12%, all bets are off. But right now, it's looking like real estate's just going to keep going crazy because the housing shortage is here. It's legit. By the way, during my speech at Market Disruptors, I bursted the bubble of one of these YouTubers. I put some of his charts right on the screen, and I showed people how there are these leaps in logic being made when it comes to this Chicken Little sky is falling thing about the market. It's just simply not true, right? There are these big leaps in logic where they'll give you like one fact or two facts that are true, yet the conclusion is a complete fallacy because they have to make this giant leap in logic. And in this case, it was a leap through space-time. Do I sound like Einstein now? Space-time. The space-time continuum was the leap in logic that this person made in their YouTube video about the market and the housing shortage. This stuff is just drives me crazy. Okay, let's move on. So, contest winners for our $50 Amazon gift card. Who won this week? We got G in row. Is that it? YouTube comment. Jason is right. It would be a slow drip. According to Realty Track, the U.S. average is 477 days to complete the foreclosure process. Anyway, that's a good comment. Thank you for the thoughtful comment. We pick these comments at random with a piece of software that picks them. This was really a good, thoughtful comment. So thank you for that. Claim your prize at jasonhartman.com/ask. And then on Apple Podcasts, we had a review from Alex Strath1, I guess that is, who said, realistic conversations. I've come across one of the most recent episodes with Lawrence Kotlikoff, and I love it. The Ukraine-Russia conflict has been a source of sadness for me ever since it began. Couldn't agree with you more, by the way, Alex. Anyway, great comment there. So go leave a review on Apple Podcasts or a comment on YouTube or both. And every week we give away $50 to two people, $50 Amazon gift card. Claim your gift card at jasonhartman.com/ask, and we'll get that out to you. Last thing before we get to our guest, Jacksonville Wholesaling Workshop. Folks, this is going to be a great workshop. I think two people at the event last weekend enrolled instantly just because I mentioned it from stage. And this is just going to be an awesome time. We're going to spend 3 days together in Jacksonville, the 20th, 21st, and 22nd, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Go to jasonhartman.com/wholesale. That's jasonhartman.com/wholesale to learn more. If you want to understand how to source wholesale real estate nationwide in Jacksonville or any market around the country, even foreign countries. You can even do this in some foreign countries. It's really, really cool. And we're going to talk about virtual wholesaling, how to do faraway fix and flips, how to tap into private money to fund your deals, how to flip vacant land, infill lots, commercial properties, how to deal with small builders, select title companies, manage deal flow, systematize the process, develop a team of property scouts who can find deals for you, replace down payments, 30-day action plan. There's just a bunch of great stuff. So really do not miss this Jacksonville event. This is going to be a good one. It's a very small, intimate group. We're going to jump in some rental cars. We're going to roam around. We're going to look at properties. We're going to be in the field. We're going to have classroom instruction. And we've got a nice venue for this event as well. Beautiful venue. So join us, jasonhartman.com/wholesale. Without further ado, let's get to our guest and let's talk about the investor mindset. It is my pleasure to welcome Stephen Pesavento. He is the founder of VonFinch Capital and would like to talk to us today about the 5 success principles for investors. Mindset is what it's all about. That is the context from which all of us operate. And we've got to get that mindset right to be successful at whatever we do in life. And investing is definitely part of that because it requires a certain type of mindset. Stephen, welcome. How are you?
I'm super excited to be here. It's great to see you again, Jason.
Likewise. Give our listeners a sense of geography. Where are you located?
Yeah, I'm based out of Denver, born and raised in Minneapolis. Been here for about 8 and 9 years.
Good stuff. Well, take us through these principles. First of all, how did you develop them?
Yeah, well, it's such a good question, right? And so my personal development journey and really studying successful people began a number of years ago because I grew up in a pretty working class family and was really looking for what are some of those examples of what other successful people are doing. And when you look around and you really are the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And, fortunately for us in today's day and age, we've got podcasts and books and even if you're not in a community full of great investors and entrepreneurs and other people who are going to a high level, which I highly recommend you do, there's always great places to start. And so I started with podcasts and listening to books and diving into Tony Robbins and Tim Ferriss and Robert Kiyosaki and all of some of the greats to really understand how do they think and how can I apply some of those thoughts and beliefs in my own life.
Okay, so that was the general mindset, but how did you get into the specific of the 5, right?
Yeah. So what it really comes down to is the 5 success principles of the investor mindset really came from studying and understanding and interviewing hundreds of very successful investors and entrepreneurs and thought leaders, people who are operating at the highest level and really driving towards success in every part of their life. And what I noticed is talking with and learning from these people, there was 5 things that were universal across the board. And so happy to kind of just walk through what some of those 5 success principles are. But before I do, I want to really define something, right? So I have a show called the Investor Mindset Show. It's a top podcast on, all podcasting apps. But what we really dive into is this idea of mindset. And I really believe it's the foundation. I think it's what is the foundational piece that all of the strategies that you're going to have are going to be built upon, whether you're going to go the active route and be more of an active investor and build the business and do the actual decision-making on a day-to-day, or whether you're going to go the passive investing route and you're going to focus in your career. At the core, mindset is simply the thoughts and beliefs you have that directly lead to the actions you take and therefore the outcomes you experience. And what's beautiful about this is that as you upgrade the operating system of your mind, as you change these thoughts and beliefs, you therefore are going to start taking different action and you're going to have different results in your life. And so when we can understand the context of these 5 success principles and how just by applying one of them, you can radically change the way you're showing up as an investor and start truly thinking from the investor mindset. That's where real success happens. So should I dive in, Jason?
Yeah, absolutely. We're waiting with bated breath. So go for it.
I love it. Well, at the core, once we understand what we're building this upon, the very first and one of the most important of these principles is that they view challenges as opportunities. And what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is that problems equal profit. A very successful entrepreneur and investor, what they're going to do is they're going to walk into a situation and they're going to be able to look and ask themselves, well, hey, how is this challenge actually an opportunity for us to grow, an opportunity for us to profit, an opportunity for us to be able to create ROI, and for us to be able to move forward. And so a great example of this is that if you're a single family investor, or maybe you're a multifamily operator like myself, and when we walk into a property, we end up seeing all of these challenges, all of these problems that are with the property. We see that maybe it's being rented for below market, or the kitchen or bathrooms are outdated, or there's deferred maintenance, or the entire property is just in disarray. And for many normal people who are operating from an average mindset, they're going to look at this, they're going to say, hey, I have no interest, I have no desire to have anything to do with this. But somebody who is really successful, someone who's operating with the investor mindset is going to ask themselves, well, hey, how can this actually be an opportunity for us? How can we take this and solve this problem and have that end up leading to great profit and great ROI? And a perfect example of this is we all know Richard Branson, one of the most successful investors and entrepreneurs in the world. He had an experience where he had a bad plane flight that ended up leading to bad customer experience. And he decided to himself, hey, this is an opportunity for me to be able to change the industry and be able to create, a great business. But one of the biggest challenges of starting a business like that is the investment that actually has to go into it. It's very capital intensive and it's a huge risk because you're buying these multi-billion-dollar assets, planes. And so how did he go about that? Well, he thought, hey, the problem that's stopping most people from succeeding at going down this path of investing into this type of a business is that it's so capital intensive and there's so much risk. And so the opportunity that was available to him was actually to cover that downside by making an agreement with Boeing that he could simply give back all of the planes and not have to pay anything for them. And so by going around the problem, by understanding how that challenge actually could lead to an opportunity for him to change an industry, is the same type of thinking that you can do as an investor, whether you're going to go and walk into the property and do all the work yourself and make those decisions, or whether you're going to partner with an expert who's going to do that on your behalf.
Well, you know what they say, the best way to become a billionaire in the airline business is to start with 2 billion. Then you'll end up with 1 because that is a very difficult business for sure. But yeah, Branson has an amazing story, and we've all read the books and heard that. And I've met him a couple times on his Necker Island, and he's so good at branding and marketing and doing things in such an unconventional way, right? So what you say there is just another of many examples of his very unconventional thinking, which is many times the way you have to do it. Absolutely. All right. So what else in these 5? Give us some more.
Yeah, it's absolutely critical and key that you see challenges and opportunities, because you're going to get knocked down. Things are going to go wrong. There's going to be problems that are going to come up, and you're just going to have to handle them. And that's what successful investors do. And the second thing is that they're ultra focused. Right? The best investors are the people who are operating from one specific asset class, and that's where they start. That doesn't mean for your entire career you only work in one area. But what it does mean is that you become an expert. If you're going to be the operator and you're going to be the person pulling the strings and making those decisions, you're going to focus on doing one thing and doing it really, really well. Yeah. And here's the antithesis of that. The antithesis is when you walk into a real estate investor event, and we all know these people. And frankly, Jason, maybe you and I have been these people. I know I have at one point in time. And it's those people who you ask them what they're doing or what they're investing in, and they say, I'm flipping houses, and I'm doing single family rentals, and I'm doing some turnkey, and I'm thinking about doing some storage, and I'm thinking about investing in multifamily. And they've got this whole list of things that they're thinking about doing or they want to do, versus the person who walks in and says, hey, I'm a multifamily operator. I work with high net worth, high income individuals, and I help them grow their business. Or I'm a turnkey operator and I help people make money in that space. When you have that level of clarity, people know who you are and they know how you can help them. And the key is you want to succeed in one area first before you then go diversifying and creating other businesses. Don't you agree, Jason?
Yeah. And it's interesting that you started with Branson as the example, because now, for decades since his initial success, he has entrepreneurial ADD. He has like 400 companies. It's crazy. And people would look at that and say, oh my gosh, you're so scattered. How can you do anything well? But it started with a concentration, right? And I think that's really the key.
It started with a concentration, and he ended up building his empire based on that individual concentration in the record business. He made his money, and then he could afford to hire great people around him to really build his business. And you could almost argue that his focus now, as you were mentioning, is actually not in a specific business niche, but it's in the niche of being an influential, impactful marketer. For being somebody who, by attaching his name or his company's name to something, they can end up bringing that to millions or billions of people. And so in some ways, he's still niched out in one area. He just happens to be doing that across industries. But regardless of what that is, if you're going to be successful, you want to focus in on one thing, get really, really good at it, and then go from there.
Good stuff. All right. Number 3.
So number 3 and number 4, I'm going to kind of put these together because I like talking about these as one, but it's really critical for you to get really clear on what you want and why you want it. And so many people that I talk to that are up and coming, that are looking to leave their job and make real estate their career, or those people who love their job or at least are golden handcuffed because they're making so much money and they want to passively invest. Both of these people I run into all the time that are unclear on what they want and why they want it. And it's so critically important to get clear on what you want and why you want it, because that's where it all begins. If you don't know where you're going, you're never going to know when you got there, and you're not going to be able to know whether you're on track towards what that is that you actually want. And I really believe it starts with what. A lot of people talk about purpose, and purpose is important. I really think purpose is a driver. Understanding your why is a real big motivational driver. But we have to understand what it is that we want, and we use our purpose to clarify if that is actually in alignment. And so by going through this process of simply asking ourselves over and over again, going out into the world and testing how that feels and what the results are, and then coming back and continue to refine it, we put ourselves in a much stronger position. Because here's a great example. If you are someone who is saying to yourself, well, what I want is I want to be able to make money in real estate. I want to be able to leave my job, and I want to be able to prove to myself that, I actually can do this, that I can be a real estate investor. Then there's a lot of different paths. You could go down the path of being a flipper, and you could go and flip 75 houses your first year, and you can flip 200 houses within 2.5 years, and you can build a great business. But if the true what that you want was to make an impact in many people's lives, to inspire them to live better, but most importantly, to actually have freedom and flexibility, and you built a flipping business that really has you tied in, you're working day and night, you're stuck worrying about all these individual assets, and you can't really hire people high enough level to manage the day-to-day, well, then you actually ended up building something that's far away and different than what it is that you actually want. And that story is actually my story. I spent 2.5, 3 years building a high volume flipping company where I flipped 75 houses a year out of state in 2 different states. And I burnt myself out. And I ended up realizing along the way, by asking myself this question over and over again, of course, it was a little bit late, but I ended up having to make a pivot, because when you can get clear on what you want, it makes it really easy to make that decision to move forward into an investment. So that way, when somebody like Jason or someone like myself, or many of the other operators or syndicators or coaches or anybody out there puts an offer in front of you that says, hey, you can learn how to do this yourself, or you can invest directly with us and we're going to take care of all the work. You can look at that and say, I know that this is the right fit because it fits into what I want, and it's going to end up delivering me that result. Have you seen this, Jason, yourself, when you're talking with investors, that if they know what they want and why they want it, it makes it that much easier for them to actually get where they're looking to go?
Right, because, if you don't have a specific target, you're just sort of lost, right? You don't know where you're going. And like the old saying goes, 'tis the set of the sails and not the gales that determine the direction of the ship. And when you have that focus, you home in on that target. And all of the things that happen in life, all the people you meet, the discussions you have a direction to them. And I think that's why it's very important.
Yeah, it's critical, and it will make life so much easier to operate, because there's so many opportunities that are out there. There's a million ways to make $1 million, and there's probably a million ways to make $1 billion. The question is, which way is going to be the right for you? And you really need to be able to get clear on what it is that you want. And then that's followed up, of course, with getting clear on why you want it. Right? The most successful investors also understand their purpose. And what you'll notice as you listen to many of the investors and entrepreneurs and those successful people that Jason has on his podcast, or I have on the Investor Mindset, is that what you'll notice is that those people who are successful, they have a purpose that's bigger than themselves. In other words, their why is connected to something that's much larger. It's connected to a nonprofit. It's connected to some kind of impact. It's connected to their family. It's connected to giving and creating value and inspiration in others in a much bigger way. And at first, it's going to start out with, I need to make 100,000, or I need to make 200, or I need to replace my income. And then once you get past that point of fear and scarcity, and you get to that level of being secure and confident, that's when that purpose really matters. And so it's critical that those two happen together, because one really reinforces another, but it really all starts with what?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we've covered 3 and 4 in that one. What's the finale?
So the final one, I think, is one of the most important, and it's really aligning yourself with great coaches, great mentors, and great partners. It's really about understanding who is out there that can help you achieve your goals. When you're really, really clear on what you want and why you want it, you don't need to know exactly how you're going to get there. What you do need to understand is who can help you, who has the knowledge, who is out there in the space that you can trust, that you can follow in their footsteps, right? And there's a big difference between a mentor and a coach. A mentor is somebody who's been down that path. That's somebody who is already doing what you want to do, has already done it, and you get to literally walk in their footsteps. They've already lit the way. You can simply just follow along the path. This is a great option, especially if you want to go build a business, or you want to end up in the exact same place that one of these people that you're going to follow or look up to is going. Coach is different. A coach is somebody who has experience pulling out the best of you, pulling out the pieces and strategies and ways of thinking in you that no one else can. They don't necessarily have needed to be down that same path, although they may be a mentor in many ways, but they just simply have the ability to pull the most out of you. And you can think of some of the great coaches in history. I mean, Michael Jordan, for example, had 7 different coaches at any given time, but we all know one of his greatest, his main coach, Phil. He was not the best basketball player on the court, but he was the best at pulling that person out. And the third is different, right? A partner is somebody who is actually going to have alignment of interests in your success. That's somebody who's going to go and find you that turnkey property. That's someone who's going to go find you that investment. That's somebody who's going to get paid based on success of that project going well. That's somebody who you are working towards a very similar goal and vision. And although you may pay them up front, or they may get paid based on the project being successful, at the end of the day, they're in alignment. Now, it's great when you can find coaches, mentors, and partners who happen to all be in one. But one of the most important things is that successful people invest in themselves. They're investing in themselves through the time they're spending, listening to shows just like this, with the events and conferences and things where they're learning. But then, of course, in the experts that they're bringing onto their team. None of these successful investors and, billionaires or millionaires are doing their own taxes or doing their own attorney work. And they're sure not managing their investments day to day. They're bringing in very, very smart people who have that experience and track record, who allow them to skip to the head of the line and really be able to operate from the highest level. And it's for that reason that it's so critical. As you listen to these 5 success principles, you probably think to yourself, hey, Stephen, I've heard some of these before. But I challenge you to ask yourself, are you actively applying all of them every day of your life? Because if you're not, no problem. Hey, most of us aren't. This is an opportunity for us to grow. But I challenge you to ask yourself, which of these would most impact your investing life right now? And what do you want to commit to? Do you want to commit to starting to redirect and change the way that you look at challenges? Do you want to go find a coach or mentor? Or do you want to go find an advisor, someone who can help you get into the investing game and find the right deals? Whatever that is, commit to it and then take action. And that's definitely the fastest way to having success.
Got to ask you a question about that. You made me think of something as you're saying that. Do you believe in luck?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I'd rather be lucky
than
than skilled
good
any days. But the truth is that having skill allows you to have more lucky opportunities. Right. It's definitely about showing up over and over again. And you're going to be a little bit more lucky if you're hanging around the hoop for one of those rebounds to come back to you.
Yeah. So I do. And I believe that, to sort of elaborate on your last point, that one of the reasons success is self-sustaining through generations, and it's not really fair, but it's life, okay, is that if someone is lucky enough to be born into a successful family, right, those parents are going to have successful friends that those children meet and know, and they're just going to network together. They're going to do deals together. They're going to have access to capital and people and resources. And, when I started out in my adult life, I had none of this at all. I mean, I never grew up that way. I didn't have money. I didn't have resources, didn't have connections, none of it, right? Had to make it all myself. But what really slowed me down on my path, I'll say first what accelerated me is, I just did things all myself. I was ambitious and, I just went out and made stuff happen. But there's a limit to that. You can only go so far with that one. And to sort of force luck, what you have to do is you have to hire coaches and you have to pay money to join mastermind groups. And then you're forcing luck. You're basically buying all of those resources, those people, those connections that, had you grown up in the right family, you would have probably had for free, okay? But the rest of us have to just buy it. Now, we might be lucky enough to just network our way to it and do it organically, if you will, but that's pretty hard. And, it can work. It's slower, but it can happen, but you can just buy your way into it. And so if you take some of the money you earn from your ambition and spend it to buy the luck, you can accelerate your path, right? And I think that's a really key point of the kind of Napoleon Hill's mastermind principle, and coaches, right? And, Michael Jordan having 7 coaches for, little things like here's one coach for this specialized thing, here's another one for this thing, right? And those coaches not only bring you knowledge, but they bring you connections as well.
It's so true. I think, well, our first connection in person, Jason, was at a mastermind, was at an event.
Yep.
And I have found that some of the fastest paths that I've had to success was simply paying 20 or 30 grand to step into a room full of other people who are already doing what I want to do.
Well,
and now
the key is though, the qualifier is you're stepping into a room with a bunch of other people that paid 20 to 30 grand, right? Mm-hmm. And so automatically there's the qualifier because it's expensive, right? And so, go ahead though with what you're saying.
No, that's exactly it. It's all these people, they paid the piper to show up into that room. And many people think to themselves, well, why would I pay to go to an event when I could probably meet some of these people for free? But the truth is, one, you're not going to ever find all these people in one room for free. And right. 2, the fact that you're paying ends up putting you in a spotlight or in a position to be able to connect with them on a deeper level and have them want to pay attention to you because they know that you're the kind of person who gets things done, who is at least willing to show up. And that is exactly what happens. And that's what successful people do. That's why they pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to go to crazy charity dinners. It's not for the charity and it's not for the dinner. Now they do want to do good, but it's, they want to be sitting around with other people where they can learn, hey, how do you think about this? What are you investing in? How can I do the same thing?
Yeah. And that's the same things that more passé nowadays, but it's the same things that, throughout many decades, country clubs offered, right? And that's basically what it was. You were basically buying those associations, and it does work. And remember, the reason those people want to pay attention to you is that they also want to get their $30,000 worth. So everybody's just operating at a higher level when people pay for that. And plus, heck, it's a lot of fun too, so there you go.
That doesn't
hurt.
Good
Good stuff. Give out your website, Stephen, and tell people where they can find you.
Well, it was great being here with you guys. If you're on social media, go give me a follow at Steven.Pesavento on Instagram and all the other channels. Would love to hear what was most valuable to you and look forward to staying in touch.
Excellent. Stephen, thanks for joining us and happy investing. Thank you so much for listening. Please be sure to subscribe so that you don't miss any episodes. Be sure to check out the show's specific website and our general website, hartmanmedia.com, for appropriate disclaimers and terms of service. Remember that guest opinions are their own, and if you require specific legal or tax advice or advice in any other specialized area, please consult an appropriate professional. And we also very much appreciate you reviewing the show. Please go to iTunes or Stitcher Radio or whatever platform you're using and write a review for the show. We would very much appreciate that. And be sure to make it official and subscribe so you do not miss any episodes. We look forward to seeing you on the next episode.